Hi, I'm Aaron Trammell. I'm an assistant professor of games at UC Irvine, and I write about representation and inclusivity in games, in tabletop games specifically. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, so it's in the department. It's called the Game Design and Interactive Media Program, and it's in the informatics department. Um, but the game design and interactive media program is only now 2 or 3 years old, and it's really the result of a massive hiring decision that the department made about 6 or 7 years ago to focus their resources in on hiring games faculty. So we're really proud of the program. We've really tried to update it and modernize it, including topics such as inclusivity and diversity, including things like tabletop game design, and a program that once really just focused on computer science and games. So I specifically work on tabletop games. It's my specialty in the program, and I also specialize in questions of representation there. I would say that most of us who teach game design focus and start with tabletop games as the foundation and building block of a game design curriculum. This is something that's universal over most game design programs out there right now. But yeah, we're really proud to offer many classes. I teach a class on role-playing games and improvisational play. It's really cool. We had this all-star industry lineup of speakers come in last year because the cool thing about the tabletop industry is that it's small enough that people still get really excited when innovative new things are happening in it. If I'm teaching a class, for example, right now I'm teaching a class on mobile and ubiquitous games. And I've divided that syllabus into 3 sections. The first is on interface. It's all about the materials you play games with. We walk from magic cards and tabletop games, and we move on to things like Hearthstone and touch and twist games that you play on your phone. The second is compulsion. Here we start getting into the cultural discussion here. We talk about things like compulsive play. We also talk about representation. Who's being represented? Who are these games being marketed to? And then the final is kind of like a grab bag theme. It's on collection. It's just a fun mechanic that comes up in mobile games that we want to talk about. So very mechanically focused in that regard. So all these things come together for the students in a big design project at the end of the quarter, and that is a 40-card game. And for them, that's the restraint. It's like you can only use 40 cards, and that's hard because people are like, well, I want to make a card battler that uses 80 cards, 2 decks, and the answer is, well, make it with 40 cards, do it with 20 cards in a deck. Challenge yourself to hit that restraint. Yeah, I think 40 cards is a good number because it is the size of a tournament deck of cards in a lot of different games. But I also think it's not too many cards. It's a limited design space. And I think that when people are forced with limited design spaces, it forces light bulbs to go off. So like I often see a light bulb go off in students' heads when they realize that they can use both sides of the card, or they can put information on the top or the bottom double the amount of cards that are in someone's hand. So it helps people really think through, what does this one component do? What can I squeeze out of it? Which I think is really useful when you go out to design tabletop games and publishers are wondering like, oh, how can we fit more game into this box? And we play the games. We do the last like 2 or 3 weeks of class is playtesting and design. That's all we do. We come in, we workshop the games, we start, you get paired up with another group, and you play that group's game, and then in the middle I like blow a whistle, you switch, and that group plays your game, and you talk about them. And then on the last day we have a double long class, and then I go around and the TAs go around, and we play all of the games in the class, and just get to see how they work. Oh yeah, the number one thing that I would encourage students to do when they play games is start thinking imaginatively and out of the box about the theme of the game they're designing. There are so many games that come in every year that are generic fantasy or generic science fiction, and I just want to see a world of game design where the designs are thinking outside of that. I have a colleague at USC, Sam Roberts. He asks students to develop a game out of Grimm's fairy tales every year in his class. And he says that pushes them to like imagine new worlds, imagine stories that they wouldn't have ordinarily told. And so I think that's the biggest hurdle for most students coming in, is getting out of the mind space of the games that they've grown up with, the games they wanted to play, and starting to think about games as art, literature, things that stand alongside other things that they might be consuming today. If I had to give one piece of advice to a budding designer, I would say it's playtest, 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 and get involved. So I think the more you can get involved going to cons, get involved going to playtest nights with other designers, the more you're going to find yourself in that community that moves forward as a cohort and builds and designs games together.